Privilege escalation. Privilege escalation refers to a type of network or system attack where an attacker's attempt to gain unauthorized higher-level access within a security system. Linux is a multi-user operating system, meaning different users are given different level of access based on their roles. This design helps protect the system by ensuring users only have the privilege they need. However, when privilege escalation occurs, this separation is broken. As a result, attackers can gain more control than they should have, leading to serious security risks. But why preventing privilege escalation matters? Preventing privilege escalation is extremely important because it can lead to major cyber attacks and system damage. First, ransomware attacks. Ransomware encrypts files and demands payment to restore access. If attackers manage to gain higher privilege, they can spread ransomware across the entire system or network, affecting multiple users and critical data. Second, persistent access. When attackers obtain escalated privilege, they can remain in the system for a long time, even if the attack is partially detected. This allows them to continue stealing data, installing malware, or launching further attacks without being noticed. And third, system modification. With higher privilege, attackers can modify system settings, delete important files, disable security tools, or even install backdoors. This can cause system instability or complete system failure. Lastly, data theft. Attackers with elevated privilege can access sensitive information such as financial records, user credentials, or personal data. This can result in data breaches, identity theft, and serious legal consequences for organizations. There are two main types of privilege escalation. The first is vertical privilege escalation. In this type, an attacker moves from a standard user account to an administrator or root account. This usually happens by exploiting system vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, or weak permissions. Once successful, the attacker gains full control over the system, allowing them to change settings, install software, and access all data. The second type is horizontal privilege escalation. This occurs when an attacker accesses another user's account with the same privilege level. For example, a normal user gaining access to another normal user's files or data. Although the privilege level does not increase, it still causes serious security and privacy issues.
I will be presenting on two related topics about Linux security. The first topic is why Linux is vulnerable to privilege escalation. So, although Linux is widely known as a security operating system, it is still vulnerable to security issues, especially when systems are misconfigured or poorly managed. In this presentation, I will explain the main reason behind privilege escalation in Linux and discuss a common real-world example involving misconfigured sudo permission. So, we're gonna talk about why Linux is vulnerable to privilege escalation. First, let us understand what privilege escalation is. Privilege escalation occurs when a normal user is able to gain higher level access, such as administrative or root privileges, without proper authorization. There are four main reasons why Linux systems are vulnerable to privilege escalation. First, misconfigured system permissions. Linux relies heavily on file and directory permissions such as read, write, and execute. If these permissions are incorrectly configured, sensitive files or scripts may become accessible to unauthorized users. As a result, attackers can exploit these permissions to modify system files or gain elevated access. Second, improper use of administrative tools. Administrative tools like a sudo, cron, and programs with set to permissions are very powerful. When these tools are not properly restricted, they can allow normal users to execute commands with administrative privileges, leading to potential privilege escalation. 3. Outdated or vulnerable software. Software that is not regularly updated may contain known security vulnerabilities. Attackers can exploit these vulnerabilities to escalate their privilege within the Linux systems. 4. Human errors by system administrators. Finally, human error plays a major role. Mistakes such as overly permissive configurations, weak security policies, or excessive trust in users can unintentionally create security loopholes. Next, I will focus on a conceptual case study involving misconfigured sudo. What is sudo? Sudo is a Linux utility that allows authorized users to execute commands with elevated privileges, usually as the root user in a controlled manner. Its purpose is to improve security by reducing the need to log in directly as the root user. What goes wrong? Problem arises when sudo is incorrectly configured. Command misconfigurations include users being granted excessive permissions, certain commands being allowed without password authentication, broad or poorly defined sudo rules that weaken privilege boundaries. These issues allowed users to bypass normal security control. 3. Consequence. The consequence of misconfigured sudo can be very serious. They include a normal user gaining root level privilege, modification of critical system files such as password and shadow, execution of malware or malicious script with full system access. This can result in a complete compromise of the Linux system. 4. Why this is security issues? This situation violates the principle of least privilege, which states that users should only be given the minimum access necessary to perform their tasks. Attackers can exploit sudo misconfigurations to gain unauthorized administrative access. Even trusted users can unintentionally become attack vectors if sudo permissions are too permissive.
On this slide, I will explain access control and privilege separation. First, access control. Access control is a security mechanism that decides who can access a system or perform certain action. It ensures only authorized users or processes can use system resources. Next is privilege separation. Privilege separation means dividing a system into parts with different privilege levels. This reduces security risk if one part is compromised. There are two main phases. Is the pre-authentication phase. At this stage, the user has contacted the system but is not authenticated yet. The child process has no privilege. It cannot access the file system or perform sensitive operations. Is the post-authentication phase. After successful authentication, the child process gains user-level privilege. However, it still cannot perform special operations directly. For privilegation, it must request the privileged parent process. This slide explains cryptography and authentication method. First is password-based authentication. User login using a password. Strong password policies are enforced. Password must include letters, number, and symbol to improve security. Second is two-factor authentication or 2FA. This method requires two elements, something the user knows such as a password, and something the user has like a one-time code from an authentication app. This adds an extra layer of protection. Public key infrastructure or PKI. User generate a public and private key pair. The public key is stored on the server and the private key stays on the user local machine. This method supports secure authentication, and lastly is SSH key based authentication. Instead of using password, user log in with SSH key. This method is more secure and more convenient. It also reduces the risk of password attack.
Now, on this slide, we talk about three key tools for network security: firewall, IDS, and IPS. I will explain each one step by step. First,
We have the firewall. Think of it as the gatekeeper for the network. It checks all the traffic coming in and going out. It looks at things like where the data is coming from, where it's going, and what they contain. If the data does not follow the rule, the firewall block it. In Linux, common firewall are UFW and net filter. So basically, it's your first line of the defense. It's IDS or interaction detection system. Unlike the firewall, IDS does not block the traffic. Instead, it monitors everything that passes through the network. If it sees something user or suspicious, it alerts the administrator. You can think of it like a security camera that watch and report, but does not store anymore. Popular IDS tools in Linux are not for network monitoring and wire for monitoring file and system change. We have IPS or interaction deprivation system. IPS is more active than IDS. It does not just watch, it blocks dangerous traffic before it can cause harm. It can also reset connection and alert enemy. IPS. Finally, we have IPS or interaction prevention system. IPS is more active than IDS. It does not just watch, it blocks dangerous traffic before it can cause harm. It can also reset connection and alert enemy. IPS is usually placed just after the firewall, so it can act immediately and treat. Sometimes it's part of a firewall or UTM device. So the sum: firewall is the gatekeeper, IDS the watch the alert, and IPS is proactive, guard and stop threat. Together they create a strong first layer of network security. This security tools work together to protect the network. The firewall filter incoming and outgoing traffic first and block obvious threats. IDS then monitor the traffic and alert the administrator. If any suspicious activity is detected, IPS take action by blocking confirmation threat in real time. Security approach help protect the system even if one security layer fails. Defenses need using multiple layers of security to protect a system. If one layer fails, another layer can still start to the attack. This helps reduce security risk. The layers include physical security, arithmetic, rule and policy, technical control like firewall, IDS and IPS, and user awareness such as knowing how to avoid phishing and using strong password. In Linux, common security tools are UFW and NetFilter for firewall, SNOP and 3-wire for IDS, and fail to ban to block suspicious login attempt. Using these two together make the system more secure.
In conclusion, the infographics highlight how Linux security relies on multiple defense mechanisms working together to protect systems from attacks, especially privilege escalation threats. Access and control and privilege separation ensures users and processes only have the permissions they truly need, reducing potential damage if an account is compromised. Cryptography and strong authentication methods such as password, PKI, SSH, key-based authentications, and two-factor authentications further strengthen system security by protecting identities and data. Firewalls, IDS, and IPS act as critical layers to monitor, to detect, and prevent malicious network activities. However, Linux systems can still become vulnerable due to misconfigurations, outdated software, or human error, as shown in the sudo misconfigurations case study. Therefore, combining technical controls, administrative policy, physical security, and user awareness is essential. Together, these measures help prevent privilege escalations, maintain system integrity, and ensure a secure and reliable Linux environment.